Jim Thorpe is considered one of the greatest athletes who ever lived. He won Olympic gold medals, was an All-American and Hall of Fame football player. He even played professional basketball and Major League Baseball. Jim Thorpe managed all that despite being subjected to discrimination for being a member of the Sac and Fox tribe. David Marinis takes a look at Thorpe's legacy in his new book, Path Lit by Lightning, The Life of Jim Thorpe.
David joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How was this success received by people in the United States at a time when obviously there's the history of how we've treated the Native Americans, but this is still early 20th century?
You know, the thing about America and Native Americans is that they've always been romanticized and diminished at the same time. And so Jim Thorpe, the athlete, was romanticized and mythologized, and he was actually received very well in the United States after winning those gold medals by the press, even as they would write about him going on the warpath and taking scalps and all of those diminishing things. They also promoted him at the same time, and the public. It was really just the International Olympic Committee and the amateur poobahs who turned against him.
Put his athleticism in context. I mean, I know in 1950, a sports writers poll made him like the greatest athlete of the half century, but what could he do that we would equate to athletes today? He was playing every sport.
He did. I mean, it's unparalleled.
Yeah.
There are athletes of the modern era who are comparable. I would say Bo Jackson probably is the closest, who maybe could have won a decathlon if he tried. But nobody did what he did in terms of being an All-American football player, a decathlon gold medalist, and a Major League Baseball player. Not only did he also play basketball, he also was a great ballroom dancer. I mean, he was just, he was good at marbles. I mean, he was just such an all-around, he could do anything. And in football, he was not just a left halfback. They played 60 minutes, so he was also playing defense, and he was the punter and the field goal kicker. So, you know, nobody has done all of that.
Was he a good guy?
He was laconic. He was generous to a fault. He'd give away money that he didn't have. He struggled with alcohol, but that's different than saying is he a good guy or not.
Sure.
So I would say yes.
Did he make money off of his fame? Did he reap the benefits at all? No.
I mean, you know, today when you see athletes signing for $240 million, the most Jim Thorpe made was $300 playing football per game. So he struggled. You know, after his long athletic career, there was another 30 years where he was struggling. He lived in 20 different states. At one point during the Depression, he was digging ditches in Los Angeles. He worked on the fringes of the Hollywood studio industry and was in over 70 films as an extra, but he never made much money.
Why is that?
Well, it was partly the times. I mean, no athletes were making money then, and especially his best sport was football. Professional football was a ragtag operation when he was playing. You know, it wasn't really even organized until 1920, and he was the first president of what would become the National Football League. But he never made much money playing football.
And he also campaigned against Native Americans being played by non-Native Americans in movies, and Burt Lancaster ends up playing him in the story of his life.
1951, Jim Thorpe All-American, played by Burt Lancaster, who of course is not Native American. Lancaster was a great athlete. He was an acrobat and could do the athletic parts of it, but you're right. For a decade and a half, Jim Thorpe was out there saying, hire Indians to play Indians, hire Native Americans to play Native Americans, when they were hiring white people and putting them in grease paint, you know, to play that role.
Yeah, and they've still been having those conversations, in the last. It's getting better, but certainly that's
definitely changed. It's been throughout American history. That's been a difficult issue.
How did he lose his medals? Is that a legit?
No, it's not. He played minor league, Bush League baseball for 2 seasons in the Eastern Carolina League, at a time when literally scores of college athletes were playing, but they were playing under aliases. There were so many aliases in the Eastern Carolina League, they called it the Pocahontas League because everybody was named John Smith. Jim Thorpe played under the name Jim Thorpe. He never tried to hide it. Dwight Eisenhower played in the Kansas State League under the name Wilson. So there's so many reasons why it was illegitimate. That's just one of the reasons.
Wow. We're looking at pictures there of the shoes he was running in.
Yeah, isn't that something? He won an event after he had lost his shoes. the mythology is that they were stolen. He probably just couldn't find them. He wore mismatched shoes. One was bigger than the other. He had to wear 3 pairs of socks on one foot to make them fit, and he still won the event.
Wow.
Unreal. Well, the book
Unbelievable.
is called Path Lit by Lightning, The Life of Jim Thorpe. It's fascinating. David will be speaking tonight in an event at the Bookstall in Winnetka. It starts at 6:30. For more, you can go to thebookstall.com and check out his website. Follow him on social media. Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Oh, thank you both.